Hey Coin Collectors, it's DC with a Big D and Big D Canadian joint video on the 1953 Canadian 1 cent coin, the first coin from Canada to have Queen Elizabeth II on it. And there it is there on the right, the Mary Gillick portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. Just a beautiful portrait. And there on the left is her father, George VI, and George VI facing left. This is the last of the George VI pennies and the first of the Queen Elizabeth II pennies. And we do call them pennies, we do call them 1 cent coins. We kind of interchange those as many people in Canada do, or did. Now that they don't have 1 cent coins anymore in Canada, things have changed a little, but you know what we mean. All right, so let's look at this one on the left first. And this, of course, is George VI, Queen Elizabeth's father, who died in 1952. And down underneath the neck, we see that it says HP, and that's, of course, for Thomas Humphrey Paget. We see it has a geared outer rim, and it says George VI, Dea Gratia Rex. George VI, by the grace of God, King. We tip it up and we see it's a bronze coin. It's a smooth edged coin. And we get to the back and we see it says 1 cent. And then there's the famous George Kruger Gray maple leaves on the back, little maple sprig. And there's the KG. There's the 1952, and here it says Canada. And again on the back, more of a pearled outer edge than a geared. And I don't know if you can tell the difference between the two, but let's look at this one, and then we flip it over, and you see that these ones are much kind of more gearish, and these are much more like dots or pearls. And you can, when you get some separation, you can really tell the difference. So that was the penny in 1952. Well, they had to get one done pretty quickly in 1953 when the 29-year-old Queen was first on the coin. And Mary Gillick did this one with a laureate crown on here. Notice that King George VI did not have a crown at all. They went back to the kind of crowned portraits, and they started with this laureate crown with the ribbon out the back. My favorite of all the Queen Elizabeth's portraits. And there it is, 1953, the first year, the coronation year. Again, it's the same Kruger Gray, same coin. This coin hadn't been changed for quite a while. In fact, the back hadn't. In fact, this is a 1937 George Kruger Gray. You can see a little bit of the coppering there. And that was the first year that George VI was on the coin, 1937. And you see they didn't change the portrait at all between 1937 and 1952. It still showed this young, boyish man who came to the throne in 1937. Same Thomas Humphrey Paget. Prior to that, there's George V, his father. George V, Dea Gratia. So let's look at that. This one says the first year that King George VI took over, they say George VI DG rather than Dea Gratia, Rex, King, et, that means and Imperator or Emperor of India. So in 1937, India was part of the United Kingdom, or the Great Britain, and you can see that's also on the the coin of his father, the 1932. And then on the back of the 1932, we see that it has a maple leaf on each side, 1 cent in the center in 1932. Now, this coin, the first of the Queen Elizabeth II coins in 1953, doesn't have the Emperor of India or Empress, but this all stopped in 1948, and that's why it's on this 37 coin, but it's not on a 52 coin, because in 1948, India got its independence, as Canada is no longer part of Great Britain either, but Canada is part of the Commonwealth or British Commonwealth countries. So how much is this coin worth, and are there any special things to look for on it? Well, there are a number of different varieties. The first I'll show you is the so-called hanging 3 variety. On some of these coins, right above the 3, you can see a little leaf up there. That's the hanging 3 variety. And sometimes there's two leaves up there. It's called the double hanging three. That is worth some money. Um, there's also sometimes you see on these ones a dye deterioration on these, and it's a major coin variety. They call it dye deterioration doubling, but we're not really seeing that on this coin. This is a pretty good date. And then on the front of these coins, what you want to look for is they call it the shoulder fold, non-shoulder fold variety. Well, we get a coin that jumps like that. It's hard to see, but when you get a coin that's this old, there's actually the clothing she's wearing has a little fold in the shoulder on some of them, and some of them it doesn't. Now, the ones that have the shoulder fold um, are the more expensive ones. If you're talking like proof-like coins and uncirculated ones, the ones that don't have the shoulder fold are a little less um, expensive, unless they get up to like a proof-like 67. In the uncirculated coins, however, the shoulder fold, the no shoulder fold ones are less expensive. So what you want to do though is sometimes there's no way you can see the shoulder fold, but what you want to do is I'll show you the trick. So that's how you can tell the difference. Simply look at this eye, look straight up, and if it goes straight up in between them like this one does, it's the shoulder fold variety. That's all we have today from Big D Coins joint video with Big D's Canadian coins.